Hello guys, welcome to this second part of the lesson conversion of algorithms and dry running. As you can see, GCE June 2017 was the last question that was treated in the part 1 of this very lesson, and in case you did not watch the video, make sure you do so. It is in the playlist of the heading algorithms. Okay, today we shall proceed and we shall be looking at the question June 2023, question 6 sub 2. The question says, study the following flowchart algorithm and answer the questions that follow. You have the algorithm represented in flowchart. The A part, give a trace table of the values for the variables x, y, and n at the point where n is greater than 0 is tested, where n is initially 8. Hence, determine the output of this algorithm for n equals to 8. B. From your table in A above, deduce the computation that is performed by the above algorithm. Write a mathematical formula for this computation. And C. State the time complexity of the above algorithm. This is a question that was given and it was for 9 marks, dear students. Algorithms, as logic gate that was already treated, are some chapters that you need to master if you want to have an A grade when it comes to advanced level computer science 795. Okay, let's proceed for the A part. This is the trace table we are going to use because our variables we have n, x, and y. We have our condition n greater than 0. We have t, as you can see. We have our result and we have the output because all trace table must have an output. Good. Let us proceed. The first step says get n, and in this question they said n is initially 8, so that's the value of n, which is 8. The next one says x takes 0 and y takes 1, as you can see the initialization. So x 0, y 1. Remember that here we are having a repetition control structure. You might ask yourself, how does he know that it is a repetition control structure whereas it is given in a flowchart? Because remember that in solo code we have keywords like for, like repeat, and while, which shows that it is a repetition control structure. But on a flowchart, if you have a diamond with one of the arrow coming back, it shows that it is a repetition. And if you have the arrow coming back and entering in the loop, it means it is a pretest loop, which is the while loop. But if you have an arrow coming back to a particular instruction, like for example, if this arrow was coming back to x and y, then in that case, we will be talking about a post-test loop. So in this particular question, in this very question, we are having a pretest loop. Okay, let's proceed. We have our condition. Is n greater than 0? And if it is the case, we are going to be repeating this block. So this is our block of repeated statements. Okay. So now, is n greater than 0? What is n, dear student? N is 8 from the trace table, as you can see. And is n greater than 0? Yes. So I will execute this block of instruction where t takes x, so t takes 0, x takes y, so x takes the value of y, which is 1, y takes y plus t. What is y? 1. What is t? 0. When you add, it is 1. N takes n minus 1. This is what we call decrementation, that n decrements, so it reduces by 1. You can simply say n decrement. In case it was n is equal to n minus 5, then you will not simply say decrement, you will say decrement by 5. You precise the value. But when you don't precise, it means by default that it is decrementing by 1. So n becomes 7 because when you remove 1 here, you get 7. And as you can see, we are coming back to the loop which says n. We text our condition again. Is n greater than 0? 7. Yes. So I repeat my block of statement. T takes x, x is 1. X takes y, which is 1. And y takes y plus t. When you add these two, you have 2. N decrements. We come back to the condition. Is n greater than 0? Yes, we execute the block of instructions. T takes x, which is 1. X takes y, which is 2. And y takes y plus t, which is 3. And n decrements. We come back and test the condition. Is n greater than 0? Yes. We repeat our block of repeated instructions where t takes x, which is 2, x takes y, which is 3, and y takes y plus t, which is 5, and n decrement. Perform the condition again. Yes. We repeat. What do we get? T takes x, 3, x takes y, which is 5, and y takes y plus t, which is 8, and n decrement. We repeat the process again. Yes, t takes x, which is 5, x takes y, which is 8, and y takes y plus t, which is 13, and this man decrements. We proceed again. Still yes. T takes x, which is 8, x takes y, which is 13, y takes y plus t, which is 21, and n decrements. We come back to our condition. Is n greater than 0? Yes. We repeat. What do we get? T takes x, which is 13, x takes y, which is 21, and y takes y plus t. When you add these two values, what do you get? 34, and n decrement. When you come back, is n greater than 0? Is 0 greater than 0? No. So in this case, you are no more entering here. Instead, we come at this level where result takes the value of x. And what is x? 21. As you can see, we are executing this. And what is result takes x, which is 21. And we print result. So printing is a keyword for output. So our output is 21. As you guys can see, that is the dry running of the algorithm. And that is what you were requested for 5 marks. The B part says, from your table in A above, deduce the computation that is performed by the above algorithm. Okay, guys, it is true we did not go long in this chapter, but as we will be proceeding, you will understand the answer to this B part. Remember that it's a question on algorithm, and here we are going byte by byte. But I'm going to give the answer of this question B, and as we be moving with the lessons, you will understand the answer. Okay, for a student who went through all the lessons of algorithms, which will be a case at the end of these different lessons that you will find on the channel on the algorithm, you will understand that if I have an input 8 and my output gives 21, and from what we have, we are seeing that at every point of time, we have a variable t that takes the first value, then x takes the second value, and at the end, we are adding both because here we are simply adding x, we are simply adding y plus x because t is taking x. So at every point, I am adding the two previous values that I have. And in this case, what are we indirectly doing? We are indirectly performing the Fibonacci of a particular positive integer. So the algorithm computes the Fibonacci of n. That is what we have. Now they said write a mathematical formula for this computation. Okay, for the Fibonacci of a particular integer n, this is what we have. F of n is equal to 0 for n equals to 0, 1 for n equals to 1, and f of n minus 1 plus f of n minus 2 for n greater than 1. Another sharp student will simply say f of n is equals to n for n equals to 0 or 1 because if n is 0, this is still n, as you can see. And if n is 1, this is still n. So a smart student will simply say f of n is equals to n for n equals to 0 or 1, and this formula for n greater than 1. And now the C part says state the time complexity of the above algorithm, and the time complexity Fibonacci is linear O to the n. That is what we have. When we shall be talking about time complexity of algorithms, we are going to understand this particular case. So this is what was expected from you students in June 2023 for 9 marks. Okay, we proceed. Our next question is the Bamenda Archdiocese Mock 2022, question 3 sub 2. And take note that this particular question came in the Northwest Mock, I think it was in 2023, if I'm not mistaken. Just that this one of the Bamenda Mock has some modification. Some questions were being added. Okay, the question says, carefully study the following flowchart and answer the questions that follow. A. Identify two other control constructs present in the flowchart apart from sequential control struct construct, 2 marks. Manually execute the flowchart with the following inputs. We have 1, 0, 7, 3, 1, 8, negative 2, 2. Show you're working. When they ask you to show you're working, when you're manually executing, they are indirectly asking you to present the trace table. And the C says state the value of the output when the algorithm completes its execution. Justify whether or not the test data provided above are all valid. And E says write the corresponding pseudocode of the algorithm in the flowchart. So this is a question sub 2 that is part of question 3 that came for this is 2, this is 6, 7, 9, 12 marks. Remember that each question in advanced level computer science is worth 17 marks. Good, let's proceed. The A part, identify two other control construct present in the flowchart apart from sequential control construct. Personally, this question A, every student is supposed to answer this question without even looking at the algorithm. Let me explain myself, dear student. Control construct, how many of them do we have? 3. And if they ask you to list 2 apart from sequential, it means the other 2 are obviously selection and repetition. But guys, let me show you. So at this level, what do we have? You see that for this diamond, my first arrow is entering, the second arrow is entering. None of them is going back. So this is selection. This is selection control structure from this level right up to this one. This is selection control structure. And this larger one, remember that for this particular loop, you have an arrow, this particular arrow coming back, and it comes back to an instruction. So is it pre-test or post-test? Correct. If you said post-test, then you are right because this arrow is coming back to an instruction. I told you guys, when you have an arrow coming back to an instruction, it is post-test. And if you have the arrow coming back to a loop, to a diamond, sorry, then it is a pre-test. So in this case, you are having a post-test loop. So the A part of this question, we have selection control structure and repetition control structure. Okay. The B part, guys, I expect you to perform the dry honing yourself, and at the end, you are supposed to have as output 38. Do not forget to perform the dry honing using a trace table, and I will like, guys, that you click on the link in the description to join the WhatsApp channel, and from there, you are going to have my private number where you can send me your your trace table in case you do not have the output 36 for me to identify the error you might have. Okay, the C part, as I was just saying, the output is going to be 36. The D part says justify whether or not the test data provided above are all valid. Yes, because all the test values are integers valid for. Okay guys, now let us proceed to the E part, where the corresponding pseudocode for the algorithm. Okay, the first step in the flowchart says start. So that's what we have. The next one, initialize I to 8 and result to 1. That is what we have. Now, when we are moving down, we realize that we are having an arrow coming back from this loop. And remember that from the previous question we just tackled, if I have an arrow coming back to a particular instruction, then we are talking about a post-test loop, which is the do while or the repeat until loop. And how is the structure? I have repeat, first of all. Then I put in my block of code that I have. From there, what do I have? I put the condition, which is this one. So now let us proceed. Repeat, what is the first instruction inside this loop? Input n. After inputting n, we saw from the A part that this is the selection control structure. And since I have one arrow, two arrows, that is if else. So first of all, if my condition is what? N less than 0, as you can see. Then, remember that the then is for the case where my condition is true. So when it is yes, what do I have? I takes I minus 1. The else part is the case for no. And the else part says what? Result takes result equals to n, as you can see. And From there, where do I go to? I equals to I minus 1. Another student could simply say, because if you look at very well, both this part and this part comes at this level. It means that no, when I evaluate this condition, if it is not less than 0, if it is less than 0, sorry, there is nothing to be performed. And if it is not less than 0, I perform this, then at the end I will simply come and meet this particular one. So another sharp student could simply say, if n is less than 0, sorry, if n is not less than 0, then you perform this, and if, then you have this one. Because if it is not less than 0, I will have this, and automatically I have this. Even if it is less than 0, I have this one directly. So it is proper for a student just to put the condition for this particular case. So a student could simply say, if n is not less than 0, you execute this. Or a student could put the contrary of this. Remember that if n is not less than 0, then it is greater than or equals to 0. So another student could simply say, if n is greater than or equals to 0, then perform this, and if, then this is the next instruction. This is equally correct. After that, now I arrive at the condition. So repeat until I is less than or equals to 0. Meaning that when I is going to be, when I is less than or equals to 0, that is when I'm going to end, because it's what says here, is I less than or equals to 0? Yes, I come down. If it is no, I continue. So that is what we have. From there now I output result and I stop. So guys, this is the pseudocode version for this particular flowchart. I hope you understood the concept very well. If it's not the case, make sure you drop a comment and make sure you attend and you remain subscribed to this channel in such a way at the end of the chapter where we shall be treating past GC and regional mock question under this same concept, you are going to have more knowledge about it. Thank you guys. See you in the next video. Remember, take this as an exercise. I will like each and everyone to participate on this exercise and propose your answer to the personal number you are going to have in the description of our WhatsApp channel. Sorry, in the description of our WhatsApp channel, you have my personal number. I will encourage you guys to perform the dry running using the trace table with the values given, the answer B and C, and you send it on WhatsApp. I will be very glad to see your different solving and correct you guys in case your solutions are not correct. Thank you and see you in the next video.